I Am an Entrepreneur Summit is brought to you in association with FNB and our partners.
We have two business owners, Karabo and Temba, who've come on the show today to find out from our panel of business bossers whose bank is keeping things real.
Temba, what does your bank cost your business?
You see, I pay R5 for the account and about 500 Rand for the payment device.
And you, Karabo?
Well, with FNB, their app turns my phone into a payment device, so our customers pay us on the spot. I also get Mahala Charge, unlimited card swipes, and a free business savings account that allows me to set aside money from my main account for future projects. Oh, and we can also withdraw money for petty cash at no extra cost from a Checkers and other retailers.
And the monthly account fee?
0 monthly account fee. That's why it's called First Business Zero.
Well, it looks like we've got a winner, ladies and gentlemen. It's obvious which bank keeps the costs low while running your business or even just starting up. One simple change makes a big difference. Switch to FNB, Bank of the Changeables.
Welcome to the November 2021 I Am an Entrepreneur Summit in association with FNB and our partners, Renault and ShopRite. On that note, let me congratulate our partners, FNB, for winning the best SME bank, not only in South Africa, but the entire continent of Africa. My name is Andile Kumalo, and it is a pleasure to once again be your host for this edition of I Am an Entrepreneur Summit. In today's summit, we talk about how to take your product to market and unpack all the steps and winning secrets entrepreneurs must take before developing their ideas through to product development and eventually launch and finally selling to customers. We also want to ask the critical question of whether you want to localize your offering or scale, perhaps to other towns, to other cities, to other provinces, perhaps even the world. We have an array of expert guests from different industries. We're going to pick all of their brains in order to give you in-depth knowledge on how to get your product flying off the shelves. As usual, I don't come alone. I bring with me the team that gets on the road, courtesy, of course, of Renault. And I'm joined by MD of I'm an Entrepreneur, Lekaba, also known as the Business Doctor, who's hosting our entrepreneurs live from Bloemfontein, Free State. Good morning. How is Mangawong?
Good morning, Andile. Mangawong, perfect. We're excited and energized to learn today. And like you said, we're in the beautiful city of Roses, Bloemfontein. We'll be bringing you guys all the questions and comments for all the guests today. We're really looking forward to tackling the topic, taking your product out to market. With that said, back to you, Andile.
Thank you very much, Kitu. Well done. Well, we're going to be checking in with the team in Bloemfontein throughout the course of the session, so you don't want to miss that. To you that's joining us via the various live stream platforms, you too can send your questions and comments. YouTube or Facebook, you've got the comment section over there. Please make sure you send me all your comments in the comment section. If you're on Twitter, it's at IAAESA. And of course, we continue to use the hashtag IAAE Summit. And those that are on our data free stream, you can send us a WhatsApp 078 35 00768. It is now time for us to sign the register. As usual, we'd love to know where you are joining us from this morning. So, Facebook and also YouTube, go to the comment section, tell us where you're joining us from, give us your name, and in WhatsApp, grab your phone, send us a WhatsApp, tell us where you're joining us from this morning and who you are, and what we'll do, we'll of course be giving you live shout-outs here on the show. Right, I hope you got your notebooks ready because it is now time for us to get into the swing of things. Knowing how to sell is critical when deciding how to take your product to market. So let's kick off by learning from a man who's dedicated to improving sales teams and making businesses grow. You guessed it, he's the Chief Executive of Sales Guru, a regular here at I'm an Entrepreneur, Mr. Mark Keating.
Hi, entrepreneurs, and a huge welcome from me, Mark Keating, CEO, founder, most importantly, entrepreneur, like all of you, of a company called Sales Guru. So if I jump straight into it, I've been an entrepreneur for just over 16 years with Sales Guru and 3 previous businesses to that. I've experienced, still, and will experience a lot of similar challenges. But my focus is really around how is it that you as an entrepreneur can achieve greater sales? In my experience, what are some of the key challenges entrepreneurs face in trying to get their products to market? Those entrepreneurs that are knocking on so many doors and not getting enough sales coming through. Point 1, focusing on the wrong target audience. Not having a look at what my product or service is, not so much what it is, but what are the problems that we help our customers solve, or how do we help them to be better off than where they currently are in relation to what it is we offer. If I have clarity around that, I can then define the target audience whose problems or outcomes we can help achieve greater than where they are right now, and have a laser focus on that. We spread too wide. We're throwing, the wrong fishing net into the wrong parts of the ocean, and we catch nothing. I'll come on to that shortly. Then the wrong approach. If I know who my target audience is, how am I approaching them? And I see too often people are sitting around and sending emails and crossing their fingers, sending LinkedIn requests, crossing their fingers. Build it and they will come. Nonsense. Build it, look at the value, better off, and get out and make people aware you exist, not what you do. This is how we help you. So the telephone, I'm a massive proponent, two-way engagement. Let me reach out to as many people in my target audience and speak to them two-way. But I will also do emails and LinkedIn and referrals and anything I can do to market into that target group. I don't rely just on pushing buttons. When I call you, there's something of value on the outcome you can actually achieve. A simple example to share with all of you, we offer, I passionately believe, amazing sales training. But if I phone entrepreneurs and talk around all of my sales training products, don't get a lot of value. But if I position it and say, good afternoon, Sipa. It's Mark calling from Sales Guru. Sipa, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs like yourself that have an ongoing challenge to get in front of more qualified prospects and close more business every day. Are those areas currently a challenge for you? Buying motive related question linked to the outcomes of what we do, not what it is, into the right target audience. When you do that, far greater results. And the last point is, and I see this time and time again, entrepreneurs, wrong target audience, the wrong marketplace, the wrong approach, and I'm getting lots of no's. And when that happens, I pull back and I start to do less and less and say, this sucks. When really the truth, maybe we are sucking at the target audience, the approach, and the mindset. You're in the entrepreneur business, you're in the asking business. Ask a lot more in the right target audience and you'll get better results. Nobody wants to be sold to. Nobody, not you, not me. Think of those bad calls from a bad call center. It's all about them and their product and what they want. You've got to have passion and never ever take that away. You've got to have belief in regards to what you do. But people buy for their reasons, not for yours. And they buy again for the outcomes of what you provide, not what your product or service is. So I'd recommend to all of you, take a piece of paper, write down the top 3 problems that your product helps companies or individuals to be better off than where they are. What are the pains they remove? What are the outcomes they achieve? And we start to then really focus on that as opposed to purely your passion. I think also the way to remove passion, sometimes when passion comes in too much, we talk way too much and we learn nothing about creating two-way engagement when I'm talking. But when I'm asking around those areas and I'm getting you as the potential customer to give me feedback, we start to create a buying atmosphere. So please prepare far less on what you're going to say and tell them and prepare far more in regards to the questions that we can ask. And when you mold that all together and the understanding that I've got to keep my passion, but I need a sales framework, a process around value, because that's what your customers are going to buy. Thoughts on localizing or not? Should we sell purely locally or into a specific area, or generalize and have a broader approach? Well, it comes down to what you offer and where your target market is. I can have the most amazing fishing net. I throw it into the wrong area, I catch no fish again. What I've seen is many entrepreneurs fail because they go too wide, too early, and have little success in several areas. And each area could be slightly different. But I have seen numerous entrepreneurs create great success by having this laser-like focus into one specific part of an industry, a business sector, a designation, a geographical location, whatever it could be. Define target audience, define list, no more than maybe 50 companies or people on that list. And I have a focus, 30 days, that's who I'm going to reach out to. I then reach out to those people and I start to create value and a success story in that. And through that value and success, I get referrals and introductions and start to spread my spider's web, whilst understanding different markets might need a different sales strategy. But to close this off, should I spread wide or focus laser-like? Confucius had this great saying, and he said, the person that chases two rabbits often goes hungry. Laser focus. A recent example of a success story that I've seen is a startup. One company popped up immediately, a company called No PBX. And a PBX is that desktop phone that you would have had maybe at a small office. They came up with an app, start of COVID. Everyone had to start working from home, or the vast majority of people left offices. And whilst it's fine to phone from a cell phone, businesses wanted to keep that landline number. They also then had staff working from home, having to use their personal cell phone accounts, running out of airtime, trying to balance books, calling into a cell phone number. It was a nightmare. So they launched an app that on your cell phone, there's nothing applied apart from just the tech on the app. I could now download it very, very simply. And when a call comes to my office number, it rings on my cell phone or to my staff cell phones. And when we dial out, I push, it's going from that office number at the office expense separate account, and off I go. They realized target audience, not the biggest listed companies in South Africa, your small businesses, 3 to 10 staff. They realized then what's our approach to the target audience. They couldn't go and hire 50 salespeople. They went through the dealer network, existing telecommunications providers, and showed the product with first the value to their target customers, and then the value to that dealer. And the dealers have launched and taken their product into South Africa. We're talking now just over a year later. They launched October 2020. We're now in November 2021, and they've got over 1,000 customers in a short space of time, taking some of the concepts that I've shared with you already. So 3 key learnings that I can impart to yourselves here as you embark on your journey of getting products to market. Number 1, belief and enthusiasm for what it is you do. Gents and ladies, this is a tough environment. We're sitting with a lot of challenges, but don't lose the passion for what you do, aligned most importantly to how does what you do help people to be better off, your customer target base. How can they be better off? And aligning then your approach around not what we're going to tell them, but how do I ask that in a question to get their feedback to create a buying atmosphere? And then removing any sales pressure from engagement, that I can start even with the start of a meeting saying, Sipho, great to meet with you. Whilst I'm very passionate about what it is that we do and how we're helping companies or individuals achieve X, Y, and Z, I'm not sure if we are the right fit right now. I'd like to understand a little bit more. Based on that, share some information with you. And all I ask at the end of our chat, can we give each other feedback if it makes sense to discuss further or not? That I've got a structure and a framework, basic, for my sales meetings and engagements. And the very, very last point I want to get across, activity, activity, activity. I can have a mediocre product, not be great at sales, but if I'm engaging with and in front and speaking to 10 times the amount of people that my competition is, I will find additional opportunities. I will increase my skills and create greater sales success for myself. In closing, thank you so much again, Andelia and your team, and all of you great entrepreneurs, for allowing me to share a little bit of advice and information with you. Get out there and make a really strong end to this year. and be prepared to make 2022 your best year ever. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Thank you very much to my friend Mark for those really, really wise words and, of course, some direction on how you go about selling. And Mark makes a very good point in his analogy of a man who chases two rabbits often goes hungry. So when you start thinking about, do I localize, do I globalize, do I start growing too soon? Just think about where my customer is and where is that person that you can make better off with your product or service. Thanks again, Mark. Now, before I go though, let me just recognize and shout out some of the people joining us. Cindy Swap, Vilagazi Madlewa, joining us all the way from Durban. Stephanie Kasselman, all the way from Katu in the Northern Cape. Poingotlo Tabang, joining us from Bloemfontein. Poingotlo, why don't you just go to the guys where they are, right? Well, maybe next time. And Faith Mkombe with a very heartwarming message. Good morning, Andile. It's Faith here from Joburg. Excited to be here again. I've missed these sessions. Thanks to you and your entire team and all the stakeholders for this great platform. Blessed day to you all. Aww. Thank you very much, Faith. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. Please keep the messages coming. Any questions, any thoughts that you want to share, feel free to do so through the comments line, of course, on YouTube and Facebook, and also on our WhatsApp line for those joining on the data-free stream. Up next is our resident business doctor. Now, if there's someone who can help you with quick fixes for your business, it's none other than Kitumetse Lekaba.
Hello, entrepreneurs. Welcome to another edition with myself, the business doctor, Kitumetse Ligaba, MD at I'm an Entrepreneur. Today, localization. We mostly start a business so that our businesses can go nationally or even globally. But where do we start? How can you effectively connect with new markets and take your product into new markets and have brand success? We call this localization. What is this localization? Localization is adapting a product or content into a new location or market. So how do you do this? I'm going to give you 5 tips to help you get your product and localization strategy correct. Number 1, do your research. I will never stop saying this. Research, research, research. Before you even launch your product, you have to know your market potential and you have to know how you can scale your product into different markets. This is why market research and competitive analysis is very important. Is there actually a customer for your product? What alternative products are there in the market? What sales channels are best for you to get your product out into markets? Number 2, stay competitive. When you are in business, you want to dominate and you want to be indispensable in the market that you are operating in. If you want your business to be competitive, you have to be able to adapt, 1, your marketing strategy, your localization strategy, and how you communicate with your consumers based on the market that you're trying to achieve. Does your packaging speak to that specific market? How does your pricing compare to similar products in that specific market that you're trying to get into? Number 3, prioritize your content. This might be a little bit of a costly exercise because it means you have to use different strategies and different methods in getting your product out there while trying to get into different types of markets. You can't speak to a market in, say, South Africa the same way you are speaking to a market, say, in Zimbabwe. Look at the goodness of the cultures and speak to the goodness of the culture and the goodness of the environment to get your product out to that specific market. Number 4, something I will never ever stop saying also, get the help you need. Get an expert that's going to help you, 1, get your brand and products out into different markets and also leveraging on different cultures in getting your brands out there. Also, the expert will help you get competitive pricing while you're still achieving your profit goals. Also get the help to help you use technology in reducing costs of turnaround strategies and getting your product out into different markets and different locations. And lastly, get someone to help you with the quality of the product and the services that you are offering, which comes to the last point. Number 5, always pursue quality. Quality is always key. regardless of the market that you are serving, regardless of the strategies you are using to get to your market, quality is what's always going to get the customers coming back to buying your products and also using your services. So meet the expectation of your consumers before they ask for it. With that said, good luck, entrepreneurs, with your localization strategies, and good luck in getting your products out in different markets and speaking to different people and people that actually do use your product, use the energies where it counts, and get help, get help, get help.
Thank you very much to the business doctor. Get help, get help, get help. The other point that Kitubetse raised that I feel quite strongly about is doing your research. You know, when you go to new markets, it costs money. And when you go to new markets, you're also going to face new potential consumers and also potential competitors. So before you just assume that my business is not only for my city or my town, it's for the world or for the whole country, and I'm trying to get to all 9 provinces, just make sure you've done your research about who you're going to find there and to what extent does it cost you to go out and pursue those new markets. So research, really, really important. I'm also going to continue to give out the shout outs to everybody joining us today. Faith Abba, morning. Good morning, Faith. Back to you as well. Bev Bantom joining us from Cape Town. Hey, how's this for a company name? Brave, bold, beautiful. Hey, well done, Bev. Thank you for joining us. Mosa Muchochoko. Excited to be part of the live session once more. I am joining from Lesotho, a whole other country. Welcome, Ndate. Welcome for joining us this morning. Absolutely continue sending us your message. Continue sending out your shouts. And of course, we'll take your questions later on. I've got Mr. Theo Ngobeni coming up here on stage, and we're going to talk about how he grew his own business. Before we take a break, I'd like to hear from you also, all the learnings that you're getting from Mark Keating, the business doctor, whatever you've got, YouTube, Facebook, on the comment section. If you're on Twitter, at IAAESA, using the hashtag IAAE Summit. And let me remind you the WhatsApp number again, 078 3500 768. We're going to take a short break now. And when we come back, we meet a very special lady with a very special business that really brings into question this issue of localizing or not. And I'm talking about Babalwa Nonkenge.
Today on The Changeable Show, we're looking at bankable ways to keep your business on the go.
I'm at Shukushuma Enterprises where the team are stuck in an intense brainstorm.
We can't be a scooter business with a skorokoro payment device, people. I need ideas.
Well, we could switch to FNB, where you can turn all our phones into payment devices.
That way we'll be able to generate QR codes using the FNB app, so that our customers can actually scan to pay right on the spot.
And if we're on the go, we can even send the QR code on an invoice or via message, so our customers can pay wherever they are.
And the funds reflect immediately, which means we can keep track of our business transactions.
Exactly.
Wait, I got it. We could switch to FNB, and I can turn all your phones into payment devices. No manini, no magopi.
But that's exactly what you just said.
Yes, but you guys didn't say no manini, no magopi.
Hey, Malum is a genius.
Hey, no manini, no magupe wena. One simple change makes a big difference. Switch to FNB, Bank of the Changeables.
Make the mood in the all-new Renault Kiger with multi-sense modes.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And yes, you're still with us here at the I'm an Entrepreneur Summit, and we're focusing on taking your product to market. Bev already commenting on the issue, saying it's her first time on the live stream today. And she says, Kitu, you are the real deal. Thank you so much. Your videos have helped me so much. I love how you empower the nation. Thank you, guys. I am building confidence to build my brand, to put myself to market. And confidence is such a big thing. Thank you, Bev, and I'm glad we could be of help. Keep staying tuned in every month. I'm an Entrepreneur Summit here on Facebook Live, also on YouTube, and also on our data-free stream. The question of whether to localize or not when marketing or delivering your product or service is an important one. Given the various languages, the various cultures in our own country, even beyond our borders, it's important to decide whether to scale and how to scale. Babalwa Nonkenge, the founder of Epokotweni, it's a podcast which delivers financial education only in isiXhosa. She shares her entrepreneurial journey and lessons with us.
I'm Babalwa Nonkenge. I'm a host and founder of a podcast and platform called Epokotweni, which is there to make financial stewardship or any matters really surrounding personal financial matters accessible in isiXhosa. So I've been in financial services since 2001, and having grown in the different environments from tax, asset management, and banking, I guess in the wake of the pandemic, the losses, not just of lives and reductions and sometimes complete elimination of livelihoods, and the space that the pandemic and working from home created really took me to a reflective place where I started thinking more significantly about what it is that I'm doing, the industry that I'm in, and the need for accessible information for people to make financial decisions in a manner that makes sense, communicated in a language that makes sense, that doesn't need extra translation. So that's really the reasoning behind why the podcast was started. Our first president famously stated that if you want to talk to an individual and speak to their hearts, you must speak their language. When I was growing up in the 80s, all that you would hear on the radio was the news. There was something called the story time, and then there were death announcements. And so I think radio hasn't really changed much since then. And because we're in 2021, there are many more forms of communication available, much more accessible. So I needed the message on personal financial stewardship to be at people's fingertips, to be accessible. And so that really informed us going into the medium of the podcast to build onto the oral tradition. So we were building on the storytelling medium and making it accessible in an audio format where it's able to be repeated. I think the first thing that I want to emphasize is that Epokotweni is about access. And because access to personal financial stewardship information or information around money matters, in my mind, equates to dignity. And so if you understand it in that light and understand dignity, despite the fact that South Africa has at least 11 languages, I think it comes through in the spirit of what we do. Because what I've realized is that in the instances where I do record content in English, so for people who are not isiXhosa speaking, they were also raised on the same folklore, on the same stories that I use to make the information relatable. And so that really eliminates the alienation effect, that eliminates anyone feeling excluded. And I think is a start, because the more of us do this in the various fields that we find ourselves in, the more we really show that we are doing our patriotic duty. Because as much as we size up opportunity quantitatively, I think sizing up opportunities linguistically has perhaps been forgotten. That we need to just dial back and make sure that we don't leave anyone behind. In the financial sector, we always read when they release economic data about how indebted the South African population is. And if we have only traditionally communicated issues around indebtedness and financial stewardship or financial responsibility in languages that are foreign to the majority of the population, truly how are we then expecting individuals to interact more intelligently with the system and take charge of their financial matters? So initially, we thought we'd go to all the social media platforms, because pretty much everybody's on social media. But we have, along the line, learned that some social media platforms have stigma. WhatsApp has been great. I have found that people in various corners of the country have come to know of our podcast because somebody has forwarded to their aunt or their cousin or through their Mañana group via WhatsApp. And as much as WhatsApp in the age of the pandemic has been annoying to some of us who have older relatives, but it's been great for Epokotweni in the sense that it's a very easy to understand medium. And because the podcast is available, listeners can literally request to be added to the WhatsApp group where we distribute the episodes. So that's been really the biggest source of growth, and we've been amazed really at how far the message of Epokotweni has got through the medium of WhatsApp. So the question around will I license the podcast in different languages has come up in numerous conversations. And the simple answer that I have to that is that I am starting where it makes the most sense for me, because the anecdotes in the folklore, the anecdotes, the stories in my mother tongue is stuff that I was raised on. What I am hoping is to surface similar works and bring it to light. I'll make an example. Recently, I came across an author. So this Sesotho author who's published works about how to invest in the stock exchange in Sesotho, her chosen medium is books. It's publishing, self-publishing books. So even if I don't ever get to translate my works into Sesotho, but if I can use my platform to shine the light on work that is already going on, I think that will mean I have already ticked one of my big boxes. And secondly, we are always inviting collaboration on the platform so that we do not necessarily translate Epokotweni, but that we find ways to enable other practitioners in financial services, other professionals, to start to conscientize themselves around making information freely and easily available and accessible in mediums such as podcasting, because podcasts will always be in the internet somewhere, meaning that even children who are in school today can, in a few years' time, go to a podcast and always find these forms of knowledge available. Because that way you also rectify this idea that certain concepts or economic principles or financial principles cannot be spoken in African languages. And you also rectify the notion that certain forms of intelligence can only be communicated in non-African indigenous languages. It's a big area that I feel that I'm fortunate enough to be able to make a difference in, not just because of my education and professional experience, but also because I'm fortunate enough to be fully bilingual. And so this money or matters of the pocket, as our podcast is named Epokotweni, is central really to everybody's lives and needs really to be as central as what money is, because money and the financial systems is something that we interact with on a daily basis that really needs to become commonplace for every citizen in this country.
Wow, Babalwa, congratulations for creating such an awesome platform. If you guys are not inspired by that, then I have no idea what would inspire you. Really, really interesting. Focus on a very specific target market. Even when she was answering the question about scaling to other languages, she says, no, I'm hoping my work inspires other people to do the same. I'm quite focused on what you're doing. And I guess that's why we're having today's summit, to talk about, how far does growth look for you? Do you go narrow and deep, or do you go even further outside of your core market? Really, really interesting. All right, up next, renowned broadcaster Jeremy Maggs will be sitting down with guests who will take you through the process and thinking of developing an idea into a product, and then how you market, and then, of course, most importantly, how do you sell it to your customers? Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Viewpoint.
To
To all of you, a very warm welcome to Viewpoint, where we try to unlock the secrets of successful people to help entrepreneurs with tools that you can apply on your journey towards running a successful business. I'm Jeremy Maggs, and in today's show, we're going to deal with the journey that begins your entrepreneurial idea until you finally take it to market. You show that product that you've developed to the world. We're talking about marketing. We're talking about development. We're talking about building prototypes. A couple of questions. Where do you start? What market research should you be doing? How do you need to do that market research? How to build the prototype, how to build the product, and eventually how to identify the customer, and most importantly, to sell it to the customer. Because why are you doing this? It's all to make money, to make a profit. We've got two guests today, and I would say to you that they are the perfect duo to take us along the entire course of this journey, or this value chain, or whatever we're going to call it, from ideation to marketing itself. I want to welcome Uyanda Manana. She has more than 15 years experience in the marketing industry, having worked on many major international brands. Now the managing director of the Conversation Lab agency. It's a full-service digital marketing agency. And joining her is Travis Maddock, the product development manager of SafeLoad. It's a brand of the PIMS Group. What can I tell you about Travis? He is an industrial design engineer with a wealth of experience in designing product for aspiring entrepreneurs. I hope this is going to be a fascinating conversation. To both of you, a very warm welcome. Uyanda, I want to start with you, and I like the name of the agency,
yes,
the Conversation Lab. And maybe that leads me into my first question. What sort of conversations would you be having with people that enables them to get closer to their customers? What should they be thinking about?
So conversations, first of all, that their consumers are having. And I know it sounds very flippant or sometimes very complicated. So well, where do I find my consumers? Where do I find their conversations? And that's the beauty of digital. It's going into your target audience's space, their pages, what are they looking for and how are they looking for it at every point of the funnel. So those are the conversations that we tend to have with our clients, is simplify it to what are the needs from awareness all the way down to sales, and what conversations are being had at every point.
And conversations are very organic. I mean, these change all the time, don't they? Depending on the needs and I guess the growth trajectory of a company.
Yeah. No, definitely. So, for instance, if you aren't in the market, if your consumer's not in the market or is unaware of your category or product, it's a completely different need state to when they suddenly identify, oh, actually, I've got a bit of a pain point here. Where do I start? Who's going to solve it for me? And that's where the search begins. And are they finding your brand in that conversation? And Google is no longer a search engine, it's the ask engine. And that and how we ask Google is very conversational. You know, you're not going to say, you know, what is the oil injection of a BMW or whatever. You're going to type in, what is the freaking fastest car I can find on the market? And then, am I going to find your brand?
You had to go to BMW, didn't you? Very quickly, and Travis, I'm going to get to you in just a second. But just give me the genesis of your organization, the Conversation Lab. Who are you, and what kind of work are you doing? What sort of brands do you work with? I think you've set us up for an interesting conversation.
Yes. So our belief, and I think it's true to say, marketing has changed so much. I mean, and it is because of the advent of digital and millennials. In that it's no longer just a one-sided conversation. It is very much not just about saying hello to your customers. It's how do we make sure they never say goodbye? And that is an ongoing process from your creative strategy to how you're going to communicate to them, to performance marketing. And performance marketing largely means when they go onto the digital space, are they finding your brand when they need it? And is your brand saying the right thing at the right time? So we do everything from creative strategy, creative developments, dev and tech. So we build websites, back end and front end, which was a completely new world for me as well. I know. But we're in that space as well. All the way to performance marketing, which is really the engine of how a brand survives within the digital space.
Travis, obviously you would come into this process a whole lot earlier, so you've been designing products for businesses and for entrepreneurs. Just let's start off with a little bit of your background. How do you fit into all of this?
So I studied industrial design back in the day. I won't give away any years. And just
You're just being kind to me now.
I didn't want to phone a friend. But yeah, I just, during school, I had a creative sort of background, a bit of flair in the art, but also engineering. And that's where the merging of the two comes together in industrial design, bringing a product to market, an idea to reality. And just slowly through the years, just the career has just morphed and followed where it needs to on the different sectors. We were speaking earlier about, obviously with the economic climates and how they change, it's interesting to see which sectors pick up and which drop. And then obviously those clients that come through and developing product for them. I've been part of a product design consultancy, for a long time now, and we've designed things for, you can name a sector, and we've designed a product for it.
So tell me something that's in my house that you designed.
Do you have a decoder?
I do.
More than likely designed that. Do you have a cooler box?
I do.
More than likely designed that.
This man's accomplished, totally.
Do you have a gas fry? More than likely designed that too.
So
or been part of the company that did.
So I think, and I speak for both of us now, I think I'm always in awe of people who develop an idea, but then are able to take that concept into an actual product. As an industrial designer then, is there a set protocol? Are there steps that you follow?
Yeah, there are definitely steps. And I was just saying to Yanda earlier, we get projects that start off in different process or different steps of the process. From right in the beginning where it's just someone's idea through to someone who has an almost finished idea and they just need to now commercialize it. And it's such an interesting journey. No project is the same. And it's just, no day is boring. It really is great.
At what point would an organization like yours like to get into that value chain? I'm assuming the earlier the better.
The earlier the better. Yeah. The earlier the better. I think, as you said, you have different, when we were chatting earlier, different people who have different experiences, who come up with ideas and come speak to you, Travis. And oftentimes when you've got an idea, or at least some of the clients we work with, when they've got an idea, it's so exciting. They're so passionate about it, but it's in their space.
Yeah. It's just an idea.
It's just an idea.
Yeah. Or it's their passion.
And it's their passion. Yeah. Whereas where we come in is, okay, so why should your target audience care? Because that's where the rubber hits the road. Yeah. And it's critical for us to be part of that that value proposition development, to go, okay, it sounds great, but actually, are you differentiated enough to whatever other proposition is out there within the category? And is it really what the consumers need and when they need it?
So you give a harsh reality check, but you have to do that without dampening down on the idea.
Absolutely.
It's almost a moral obligation, actually. So we work off, if we're designing something for a customer or even for ourselves, we need to work off of a brief. And a brief needs to be formulated for who's this product for, where is it being sold, for how much. The more research that is done, the tighter the brief, the more successful the product is going to become. And oftentimes, like you say, people focus on, I've got this great idea, and it's just them, and they fixate on that, and their eyes aren't open to the reality of actually what's out there, and they don't do the research or check, the fact check, the reality check that they need to. And we've seen some crazy stories.
So you're probably both going to throw a gas bri or a decoder at me, because I'm going to ask you both a very philosophical question. Travis, to you first. What actually makes one idea better than another?
Does it sell? Does it fulfill a need? And that's pretty much it. I mean, why develop a product? It's either to sell to make profit, for the business or the individual, or it's to fulfill a need, whether it's a community, environment,
So those high-flying entrepreneurs that are full of idealism and they want to change the world, that's a good thing. But they can't do that unless they've got a commercial philosophy or some commercial thinking behind them. Am I right?
Yeah. Look, I think the start point to any good idea or good product or service is it helping me? Is it sorting out some need or pain point? Do I need it? Does it make my life simpler? So at a functional level, it's got to function seamlessly, conveniently, affordably.
As you
so
say,
it's got to work.
Yeah.
And then it's about, and it goes back to the point I was making, how do we keep Uyanda coming back? So it's not just one conversation. It's, what's that next upsell, cross-sell?
Yeah.
And that's where you then can look at, okay, how's your idea helping? How's it going beyond the functionality? And that's where purpose becomes interesting. And linking or advocating with initiatives or other brands or communities within society that makes sense to link up with that product at a functional level.
So, Travis, what core information then, in your opinion, does a business need to know before they start on the next step of formulating the design into a product? If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah,
there's the idea, there's a sense that it is going to meet the need, that the affordability studies have all been done, that kind of thing. What then, before you start spending money on developing the concept further?
Yeah, so they've got to understand, obviously, how the product is going to get made, because that determines your costing, right? So once they've got all of that, then they need to obviously formulate the brief of the product. Then they will have a consultation with a product design specialist, and then they will start asking the more in-depth questions. And there's a whole checklist to go through to make sure that they have thought of it.
Give us a taste.
Oh, goodness. Where is it going to be sold? Where's the product itself going to be placed? Is it outside? Is it in the elements? Is it in rain? Are there going to be things like diesel or oil that this product is going to be exposed to? Because all of these factors...
These are so obvious and so basic, but absolutely relevant.
And critically missed a lot of times. People are so excited by certain things.
As they surf the wave of idealism.
This white product, and it must be shiny and stuff. You're like, yeah, but if you're going into this particular sector, it's going to get dirty. It's going to get scratched and tarnished day one. Your product is going to look horrible. People are going to see that, and then that's the damage done there. So there's so many factors, and it's an inexhaustible list to go through. It's like I say, every product is different, and on each product, we even learning something.
But there's a basic template.
There is.
To sum it up in one word, it would be efficiency and practicality. That's two words. Yeah.
What tests?
Yeah.
Is there a drop test? Is there IP ratings? So that's waterproofing and dustproofing. These sort of basic technical questions which help formulate a channel for us to start designing the product.
All right, so you were going to say something.
Sorry, I was just going to touch on what Travis was saying. So I think technology and the technicalities that you go through with product development speaks so beautifully to the brand experience as well. You touched on, it's beyond just the white box in the corner somewhere. You need to consider, is it going to rust? Is it going to break if you're leaving it in the elements? And that all ladders up to once your end user has bought that product, that's part of the experience. It not rusting, it not breaking down because of the elements, because you haven't considered that in your product development.
And to catch the rest of this fascinating conversation, I'm going to invite you to go to the I Am an Entrepreneur website.
Thank you very much, Jeremy Maggs, and of course your panel out there. Really important stuff to learn from people who've done it before. Really, really robust conversation on all the steps that you need to start thinking about as an entrepreneur and how to develop your product. Of course, make sure that you catch the rest of that conversation. It's available on our YouTube channel, so go onto YouTube and subscribe to the I'm an Entrepreneur YouTube channel. We're going to take a quick body break, but before we do so, let me remind you that we're going to be checking in with the entrepreneurs out in Bloemfontein. I'm told there's a couple of them that want to throw in some questions and comments. But for now, let's take a short break.
Mzansi, welcome back to the Changeable Show. Now, our contestant Keegan is in the final round competing for 1 million rand.
Okay, Keegan, this is it. For 1 million rand, what can you do for your business on your bank's app?
I don't want to risk it, so I'm going to call my banker.
Keegan's calling his banker. Relax. He'll pick up.
Unfortunately, all our bankers are currently unavailable.
Hey, son, Masakant. Clearly, you're not with FNB. If you were on the FNB app, you could chat securely Nama business bankers 24/7. Change your PIN, block and unblock your card, make payments, all on one app. Switch to FNB, where one simple change makes a big difference. Switch to FNB, Bank of the Changeables. Switch, Amankike.
Introducing the free account that gives you control over your money.
I deposit cash for free.
I use it to save.
No debit orders or monthly fees. I pay for groceries with my phone.
Or now, with your extra savings card.
And my mom can withdraw cash from her account easily.
I buy airtime, data, and electricity on the go.
And I do free instant money transfers anywhere, anytime. It's not just any bank account.
It's a free money market account from ShopRite.
Download the ShopRite app today.
Make the mood in the all-new Renault Kiger with multi-sense modes.
Welcome back, you guys. And remember, if you've got any questions or comments, please feel free to post them on your platforms, YouTube, Facebook, on your comments page, on Twitter at AAESA. And of course, the hashtag remains IAAE Summit. 078-3500-768 if you're on the data-free stream and you'd like to send us a WhatsApp. Let me check in with the guys in Bloemfontein. Kitumetse, I'm told that we've got a couple of questions over there.
Oh, okay. We definitely do. I'm here with Thabo and Pinky that are going to ask questions for us. So without wasting any further time, Thabo, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Please, can you ask your question into the mic?
I think my question comes where you mentioned 5 points of localization.
Oh, a question back to me.
Pertaining to the first one, which is the research. I think as entrepreneurs, we've got this dreaded disease of thinking our ideas will save the world.
Sure.
My question comes where, how do you make sure that your research is not one-sided?
Mm-hmm.
That my idea is going to save the world and that's it. And at the same breath, point 5, which speaking to an expert.
Yeah.
We find that as young people, finding an expert that is really for you, for the purpose of you succeeding, is very difficult. Usually experts sees an opportunity in what you're doing and they take it for themselves. So how do you now find an expert, or what is the criteria of looking for an expert that is there for you?
Got you, Thabo. I think you can grab your seat and let's allow Pinky to ask her question, and then we'll answer all the questions at the same time. Just to repeat your question to make sure we don't forget it. 1, that research, how do we make sure the research is not one-sided? And 2, how do you find the right expert to help you in try help you in your businesses and your SMEs? Pinky, before we answer Thabo's questions, let's hear your question.
Okay, good morning. I also have a question on the localization, the market potential.
Yes.
I have a waste startup, and my biggest challenge is how to bring the product into the market, how to access it, how to introduce it. The thing is, the industries are so big and it's so competitive already.
Yes.
Making biofuel is it's difficult, firstly, and it's costly. So how do I control costs, and how do I introduce it to minds, etc.?
And bring your product out into the community and make people buy into it. Got you.
And my second question is how to use technology for turnaround strategies, especially like when you want to market your product, how do you best market it?
Going back to those market signals and how to get your product out to market using technology to effectively help you in your market strategies and getting your product out to market. AK, let's come back to you in studio, and we're going to give you to answer those questions, unless if you want to answer the questions a little bit later in the show.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Kitu, for that. We will get the opportunity to sit down when we talk to our guest entrepreneur, Mr. Theo Ngobeni, and we'll hit on those questions. But I can, though, answer Pinky's first question about getting into a business that's really, really difficult. It's hard to actually process the product, number one, but it's also hard to get to the clients. Well, in a way, that's kind of the starting point of whether or not you should be even in the business. Remember, the most important thing when you are thinking of starting the business is the opportunity. You've got to be very, very clear whether or not there is an addressable market that's looking for the product or service you're looking for. If it is indeed difficult, or the market is crowded, or you can't compete on price, or there's too many suppliers, well, maybe those are indications that maybe you shouldn't even be in that business in the first place, because it might mean there is no economic opportunity. So instead of beating your head against the wall, trying to find room in a crowded space, you got your whole life in front of you. Think of other opportunities that are more compelling, spaces that are more available for you to go in and make a difference, as opposed to really kind of working hard through something that's actually difficult just purely by design. We'll come back to some of the questions that were asked by Tabo a bit later. Thank you so much, Kitu. We really appreciate that. Right back to learning more about how to take your product to market. The co-head of SME at FNB is becoming quite the regular here at I'm an Entrepreneur. Her name is Andi Swabata, and she's back once again with some valuable advice. And this time, the advice is from her own company, FNB. I've told you already, they are winners recently, just this week, of the best SME bank in South Africa and Africa. On this next clip, she lets us in on how FNB approaches launching their products to the market. Check it out.
Hi, I am the business doctor, Kitimezi Ligawa, an MD at I'm an Entrepreneur. Today, we learn about the complexities of taking your product to market. But not to stress, I'm not here alone. I'm here with Andi Swabata, the co-head of SME at FNB, to help us and to teach us on how FNB has made their marketing wins and how that can help you in your businesses. Hi, Andi Swa.
Hello, Business Doctor. Very good to be with you today.
FNB's marketing initiatives are quite memorable and are winning initiatives. Can you tell us what FNB considers when taking a product out to market?
I think the most important thing is to understand your customer base. Who are you attempting to market to, or to sell product to or services to? Have you understood what they actually need, what problems of theirs you're trying to solve? Have these solutions been tried before? Did they win? Did they fail? So I think all those things are very important when one is seeking to take a product to market. I think another thing is that, especially as brands may seek to then try and localize and try and appeal to specific communities, be mindful of language and the fact that slang that is acceptable in some languages is not acceptable in others. Also, nothing wrong with trying something on a small scale first, obtain proof of concept, and then you can scale from there.
I mean, localization is quite a big question to ask when trying to take your product out to market. Can you tell us what FNB considers important when they are localizing?
So especially when one is seeking to reach communities in a language and in a fashion and in a culture that they understand, it's important that whether you are advertising in a community radio station in KwaZulu-Natal, or you are putting up a billboard on the M1 highway in Johannesburg, it's important that even though those two things are fundamentally different, they must at least look and feel and sound the same, so that your brand identity is strong and has a common thread, even if you are seeking to rather tailor your messaging to specific communities. The other thing that we take quite seriously is to try and hire locals as much as possible, because often they will give you some of the nuances of operating in that environment that you might not appreciate if you're not from there.
Sure. And tell us, what are the lessons? Tell us one or two more if you want. Tell us the lessons that you've learned that entrepreneurs can use in their businesses when taking their products out to markets.
Something that is quite important, I think, is that any entrepreneur, because they are the ones who probably came up with the business idea, they're probably the ones who have thought about it the most, they're probably the person who is most passionate. In my opinion, you cannot be the entrepreneur without also being the chief salesperson. Because in my opinion, you are best placed to be able to market your business and take it to market and show your team exactly how you want your product and your services to come across. Another one that I think is very important, please make sure to build trust. If you've made a promise to deliver within a certain timeline or to customize a wedding dress according to what somebody wants, make sure you do it and that you stick to your promises, because trustworthy brands, in my opinion, are the ones who thrive.
So true. Trustworthy brands are the ones who thrive. And this is why F&B is thriving. So insightful, so eye-opening. Thank you for those points, Andiswa, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Andiswa, for that, and I totally agree with you. There's no way you're going to be the entrepreneur but not the top salesperson. Some comments coming through from you guys that are sending them through all the various platforms. Xolela Skali, thank you so much, saying good morning. Thank you for this very informative platform. Nonongwenya, thanking Mark. She really enjoyed the Mark Keating clip. Short, sharp, to the point. Valuable advice out there. And Bev in Cape Town, Oyanda is blowing my mind with her approach. I love her energy, so contagious. Thank you guys. Keep it coming, keep sharing. Now, up next, our resident bookworm, Hurisani Ravele, sits down with Katie Morris. That is the chief executive of the Tower Group. They are a leading provider of recruitment services. And we discover some of her favorite books to help you and I grow our businesses.
Hi, I'm Ulisani Ravere. Welcome to On the Bookshelf. C.S. Lewis once said, literature adds to reality. It does not simply describe it, it enriches the necessary competencies that daily life requires and provides. And in this respect, it irrigates the deserts that our lives have already become. I think it's just a really fancy way of it enriches our lives, right? Today on the Bookshelf, as we explore books that entrepreneurs have read that have taught them about life and about business, I'm talking to the CEO of the Tower Group. This is a company that specializes in recruitment around the country as well as integration services. Today, I speak to its CEO, Kerry. Hi, Kerry Morris.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
It is such a pleasure. Before we jump into your book selection, tell me, why do you as an entrepreneur read, and why do you believe that fellow entrepreneurs should be picking up a book?
Well, I think I've always been an avid reader, and I think reading just, for me, it's an escape, number one, from a busy lifestyle. I know that I can always pick up a book and just escape from my day or a crazy week. But more than that, I think just for the wisdom. I think that so many people out there have so much knowledge to share, and really just for the wisdom and the lessons and trying to apply them to my own life and my own business.
I was so excited when I got your list of books because I literally haven't read 2 of them. So when I come across a new book that I haven't read, I'm just like, ooh, can't wait to hear what this one is all about. Your first one is from Adam Grant, Think Again. Tell me about the lessons from that book for you.
Think Again for me was phenomenal. I think everybody post-COVID needed to rejig their thinking. Think Again was phenomenal in a sense that it made me rethink my opinions of life, and it made me question everything that I thought was correct. So I think it really fitted in well after the COVID times that we've just been through, which I think made everyone question something in life.
It did indeed, and the fact that we now find ourselves for now at level 1, who knows, it could change at any moment.
crossing fingers.
Perhaps by the time you're even watching this interview. But it's certainly one of those books that prepares you well, especially heading into the new year, right? It sounds like it's one of those that will just help you get a clean slate.
As humans, as individuals, we get into very much a comfort zone in life in general, whether it's in our career, whether it's in our family life, our personal life. And I found that Think Again allowed me to choose courage over comfort.
That is powerful.
When you're in it, which is very uncomfortable for any of us.
Brilliant. Let's go on to James Clear's Atomic Habits. What's that all about?
Really about the habits that we form, and we really have bad habits in life. And I'm not talking about the obvious, all of the fun stuff. I'm talking about the more the habits that shape us daily as an individual, as leaders, as entrepreneurs. So it really also just rephrases and reframes the way you look at yourself and the habits that you are creating in life, and whether they are forming a positive or a negative in your life. And just very much a reminder for me that, and it's something I lose sight of very easily, is that small changes in habits every day lead up to something bigger in life.
That's true.
So for me, it was a great read. I took a lot out of it. It's also phenomenal.
It's all about the daily changes that we have to implement in order to make the big change. And I think those changes also then feed into our team and therefore feed into our businesses, because you're now a different person and you're now a different leader, right?
Absolutely. And I'm a firm believer, and that's something that resonated with me in Atomic Habits, is that success is the result of our daily habits. And I'm a very big believer in your behavior. So behavior equals habits, and what you put into every day is what you're going to get out. So, yeah.
It's that simple. Your last book that actually speaks very greatly to habits and, daily things impacting our lives. It's Robin Sharma's The 5 a.m. Club. The one book that I can actually say I have now read this year.
I think a lot of people have read it. I read it quite a while ago, and it's really been a book that, again, it does link into habits, but in a very different way. And I'm an early bird. I'm not a late night person at all. So when I saw it, I was like, okay, maybe this is for me. And it really resonated with me. And it's the best time of day to get good habits in place. Set the tone for your day. And it's not possible every day. I don't do it every day. I wish I could.
I'm so glad to hear that, Kerry, because I finished reading the book and it was so easy to implement the habits and the teachings whilst I was reading it. But the moment I was done reading with the book, I'm just like, Joe, I'm not a good student.
Absolutely. And I think life gets in the way of a lot, and you've really got to be mindful and you've got to make the effort, because I do believe that is the quietest time of the day. And I do believe that how you start your morning, like Robin says in the book, is how your day is going to follow through. If you start and you've spilled coffee and you've had road rage,
one thing to the next,
arrive in a bad place.
Yes.
So it is easier said than done, but I think a great reminder that how we start our day is how we're going to show up for the rest of the day.
And a great reminder to also live with gratitude, right? And live with the experiences. Because I think we forget to do that as entrepreneurs. We're so focused on, are the books balancing? Is everybody getting paid? Is this happening? And I think that book, for me at least, taught me just a lot about being centered around self.
And it's so easy to lose sight of that in the chaos that we're living in. And as an entrepreneur, just as a very quick aside, on Sunday I was at the office catching up and preparing for this week. I don't do the 5 a.m., but I might do a Sunday for the week ahead.
Yeah.
And leaving the office on Sunday, I was so in my head on a hamster wheel, my brain was spinning, that I reversed my car into a pillar. It's a perfect example of just not being present. And it was just such a reminder to me, like, slow down, take a breath, be present in the moment.
Kerry, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for your selections. 2 new books that are being added onto my bookshelf. Really appreciate you and your time.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for having me. Have
Bye.
a great day. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Moral of the story, do not reverse into a pillar. Rather, read the books that have been put forward by Kerry. Thank you so much to the ladies. Thank you, Hurisani. Thank you, Kerry. Absolute pleasure for you to be joining us. After the short break, though, it is time that we haul out the blue chair and pick the brain of the man of the moment, our guest entrepreneur.
Today on The Bull Show, show. We've got two competitive best friends, Patrick and Eric, and they're here to settle the score on whose bank is boss.
Thank you, Jason. Gentlemen, it is time to put your faith in your bank. Question number 1. What does it cost you to bank with your bank? Eric.
That's easy. 5 rand a month.
I was cool. Did you actually look at that statement? Did you consider how much you pay each month? And up and down to the bank, the petrol. Man, that's close to 100 rand. Do you get anything back? Askis, I'm sorry. Abuti Patrick?
With FNB, I can get up to 3 times my monthly personal account fee back in value, which includes data rewards on my FNB Connect SIM.
Well, Nana.
What? So then it's obvious. The B in FNB stands for Bossa Bank. Join us again on the Changeables show, where one simple change will make a big difference. Switch to FNB, Bank of the Changeables.
If you gon' bust.
Make the mood in the all-new Renault Kiger with multi-sense modes.
Welcome back, you guys. Of course, if you want to continue being part of the conversation, YouTube and Facebook, post all your comments on the comments section on Twitter at IAAESA. Hashtag remains IAAE Summit. And our data-free stream, grab your phones, WhatsApp us 078 3500 768. Up next, I sit down with our guest entrepreneur, Theo Ngobeni. He's the founder and creative director of Mr. Slim Fit. This is a man who ensures that you make the right impression every time you step into a room. He's been doing this for a long time, and he does it for leading businessmen and women, celebrities and professionals, shall I say, me included. My team did recently visit his new showroom in Kramerville. Have a look at what the man is up to.
My name is Theo Ngobeni. I am the owner and founder of Mr. Slim Fit. We are a luxury craftsmanship atelier based in Kramerville. We do made-to-measure garments for both men and women, bespoke, literally from head to toe. My journey into business, I know it sounds very cliche, but I feel like, my business chose me. My background is finance and investment. I was an investment banker for about 6.5 years. I've always loved fashion. I've always been passionate about fashion. And throughout the years, it's always been there. And eventually it caught up with me, and I decided that I wanted to turn my passion into a business, and I saw a gap in the market. So yeah, that's how I decided to make the transition. My biggest consideration was obviously to make sure that there's demand for what I want to offer as a product and a service. Because sometimes, we feel like you have a great idea and, you're excited about it, but is it really profitable? Is it really marketable? And I think that was my biggest consideration. So I had to do a lot of market research and make sure that, for me, leaving a comfortable job to start my own business, there's actually a viable market, and I will be profitable and successful in running such a business. So how I balance what I have to do as a creative and a founder versus what I have to do as a salesperson, I feel like they overlap. I have to play both roles, because as a creative, I have to conceptualize and come up with new products and services that we have to offer to our clients. At the same time, once that's done, I have to take it to market and be able to introduce it to our clients. So I wear both the hats of being a creative and a salesman, and I believe that that's what those two roles are, something that I'm both of them, and I can easily transition from one to another. And I feel like with every business, you have to be a salesperson, because the product or the service that you conceptualize conceptualize, at the end of the day, you have to take it into market and be able to sell it. Being in fashion for such a long time, everybody always asks me, when are you starting your own brand and all of those things? And the time you start it, you're thinking, everybody's been asking for it. Clearly, I'm going to have a lot of clients and a lot of customers, but that's actually not it. Because one thing I've realized is, before you introduce anything, you need to identify who your clients are going to be. And when you do product research and market research, you need to research it based on those clientele that you will be selling to. Because the most important thing is to make sure that your clientele understand your product and they are willing to support the dream and that vision that you have. Because most of the time is, our friends and families will tell us that we are good at something and they'll encourage us to start it. But at the end of the day, most of us, our friends and families are not our target market. So that's been one of the biggest challenges that I had to face. At the same time, it's been one of the biggest lessons. So I am very, meticulous about quality and the attention to detail of everything that we do. Before I introduced our shoes, I tested them for about 6 months. Before we introduced our golf t-shirts, same thing. I started the idea of our golf t-shirts last year during the hard lockdown. We only introduced them this year in March. So I always try and make sure that we, when it comes to our products, I test them thoroughly and make sure that the quality is proper and it's something that I would be happy with, parting that kind of money. My approach to our customers and the service that we offer, I think it has changed in a way that we saw a challenge during the pandemic, and with everybody, trying to cut back, we decided to expand. I've always had a vision of creating a lifestyle brand, and I felt like, the lockdown gave some of us an opportunity to be able to work on the things that we've always wanted to work on. So it gave me time to be able to create what we are doing now. So it gave me time to expand, and also because there was lockdown, a lot of things were slow. It also enabled us to build the new showroom that we've built and be able to take our time in doing that. And it also gave us time to be able to test out new things that we want to do and be able to come up with new solutions that will be able to work for our clients. It also gave us an opportunity to also understand how to adapt to change. Because when all of this happened, when the lockdown happened and COVID happened, a lot of people were stuck. But my thinking was, how do we then capitalize on this? How do we find solutions? How do we come up with solutions that will be able to help us to grow our business? And for me, in a way, it's been a blessing. We only market our product currently in English, simply because, we in the luxury space, and based on what's been done traditionally, it's always been in English. And also, in South Africa, we have 11 official languages, which when we do localize, which language do we start off with? I think at the moment, it's easier to do it in English so that we can be able to accommodate everybody. It would be nice to get into a point where we can be able to, start marketing in our own indigenous languages. I would love to see an ad of Mr. Slimfit in Xitsonga or Tshivenda that everybody understands. The 3 tips I'd give to entrepreneurs is, number 1, do proper research, proper market research, especially with, like I said, when it comes to a new product. We all have great ideas, but is it marketable, and will it be able to make a sustainable business from it? And number 2 is that give products that offer solutions to problems. When you offer something that offers a solution to a problem, that it's easier for you to be able to run a successful business from that and be able to make money, because you're offering solutions to problems that are already there. And then point number 3 is that be flexible to market changes. Change is inevitable. It will happen all the time. And it's always important in business to always be aware of what's happening in the market and always be flexible to be able to change. The advice I'd give to my younger self in terms of the business path I've taken is trust the process. When you're starting out in business, especially myself, I'm a first-generation business owner. I didn't know much about running a business, but I knew what I wanted to do. I knew where I wanted to go. I had the vision, and I am very resilient and in pursuing what I want. I think one of the biggest challenges we have, especially with young people, is that we look for instant gratification. So the best advice I'd give to myself is, hang in there, put in the work, trust the process, and everything will work out.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And yes, that is the man of the moment, Mr. Theo Ngobeni. And he is here with me in studio. Mr. Ngobeni.
Sir.
How are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Are you well?
Good.
I can see there's no, the brand is just always there.
It has to be.
You gotta live the brand.
It has to be.
Hey? Well, I think we gotta start on something you mentioned in the video that Thabo in Bloemfontein has already asked the question about. And that was the question around research. You talk about the fact that entrepreneurs need to do their research. And Thabo's question was, how do I make sure that my research isn't one-sided? In other words, I don't do research that essentially affirms what I already think is the right answer. How did you approach that in your business, going from being a banker to starting the business and all the growth that you've had in your business? How have you used research and ensured that you're not essentially, sipping your own Kool-Aid?
I think one of the things that really helped me, and it's something that a lot of people don't speak about, it's the corporate experience. Having been in corporate, you get into a space where there's systems in place. Before you make any decisions, before you launch new products, there are systems that you have to go through. Like they were saying, the lady from FNB was saying that there's systems and processes. So that's where I learned how to do research properly, that it must not be one-sided. It's nice to blow our own horn, and like you said, we like being superheroes when we think we can save the world. But all of us have great ideas, but the most important thing is it solving a problem that's already out there in the market? Because I can have a great product and I like it and my friends and family love it, but if my target audience, my target market is not, it's not solving their problem, then it's not gonna be able to translate into a great product.
How did you know Mr. Slimfit would solve the problem? What was the problem?
The problem was, when it comes to menswear, particularly, because that's where I started, when it comes to retailers, they produce garments based on standard sizes, based on the average body. And who has an average body?
Absolutely.
Because I'm very slim and I'm tall, so finding clothes that fit me used to be a problem. When it fits me here, it's too big. When it fits me here, it's too small. So I've always had that problem where I had to buy something bigger and have it altered. And through that, I always had people asking me, where do you buy your clothes? And I'd say, no, the same way you buy your clothes, but I have them altered. And through that, then I started seeing my friends and colleagues would say, no, man, help me to look this good. And I started doing that because for me, I liked it and I enjoyed it. It was something that I could do with, closing my eyes. And somebody said, do you know what you're doing is actually called personal styling? And I didn't know what that was. Then I started doing my research, about personal stylists and all those things. I found guys there was one guy in London and another lady in Dubai. I found their YouTube channel. It was back in 2012. And I started following them. I started learning about what they do and things like that. And then from there, I started speaking to people, who would come to me and say, listen, this is what I'm looking for. And I'd ask them, why can't you go and do it by yourself? What is, I can tell you where you can get these things and you can do it by yourself. It's like, no, but I don't want to have that stress of doing that.
So already there's an answer to Thabo though, because you're saying, how you make sure you do research that doesn't just affirm your position or is one-sided. You must ask the people with the problem.
That's true. And that's where you find the solutions. Because when I asked them, they said, no, I don't have the time to go and do this, and the patience as well. Because men hate shopping. And, they hate shopping, but they want to look good. So that's when I said, I love shopping, I enjoy shopping, and I like, putting outfits together and different combinations. And I saw an opportunity where Andile hates shopping, but he wants to look good.
Hates shopping with the
I love shopping and I like putting outfits together, and that's where I can solve the problem.
Absolutely. Now, on that note, localization is the theme, or rather the question of whether I must stay local or expand beyond either my city or my town, or even potentially outside of South Africa. Your business, personal styling, right? Before you opened your Kramerville studio, it was very personal. I certainly remember the service, and of course it still remains personal. How do you work that out when it comes to scale? Because you're an ambitious man. Do you go, wow, how do I scale this if I'm only going to be servicing people potentially only in Joburg or Pretoria? If it's going to be a one-on-one service, am I going to open in Cape Town? Am I going to open in Durban? Am I going to open in Abuja? Well, how do you answer the question of scale?
So for me, my business, like you said, it's very personal. And I don't think it's a business that I would love to scale and have different branches. I want to focus still on the personal service. But what I'm doing now is moving away from just being a clothing brand into a lifestyle brand. So that's, the ambition comes from there. I still want to grow this business. I still want to make a lot of money, but at the same time, I still want to keep it personal. So that's where I'm expanding it into now a lifestyle brand instead of just a clothing brand.
All
So
right.
there are different aspects of the business that we are introducing slowly. I think in January we're going to introduce a new side of the business, which is going to help us in terms of the growth. But at the same time, we're still going to keep the business very personal.
Well, you're hearing it right here on I'm an Entrepreneur, Mr. Theo Ngobeni, talking about what is important for his business when he looks at scale. He says, Andile, it's not about new branches. It's about how do I service my customers that I already have. After this break, we're going to go straight to Bloemfontein, Mangaung, and take more questions that are coming from the live audience over there for Mr. Theo Ngobeni. Stay tuned.
Mensa vandag on the show, we are talking about living online. Brother Jay, tell us more.
Yes, we are still here, living on the line, in the queue. Talk to us, Mazi. Answer.
It's my boss, and I've been here for almost an hour, and all I want to do is just talk to my bank about a loan.
Mazi, what are we doing now?
I don't know.
Why don't you just switch to FNB?
What?
Yes, and then you can talk to a team of bankers 24/7 right here on the FNB app via secure chat. I'm telling you, you can even find out how much you may qualify for within minutes and apply for a loan right here on the FNB app.
Toodaloos, goodbye.
Toodaloos and goodbye.
Salangena. Yeah? One simple change makes a big difference. No manini, no magupi. Switch to FNB, Bank of the Changeables.
Introducing the free account that gives you control over your money.
I deposit cash for free.
I use it to save.
No debit orders or monthly fees. I pay for groceries with my phone.
Or now, with your extra savings card. And my mom can withdraw cash from her account easily.
I buy airtime, data, and electricity on the go.
And I do free instant money transfers anywhere, anytime. It's not just any bank account.
It's a free money market account from ShopRite.
Download the ShopRite app today.
If you gon' bust.
Make the mood in the all-new Renault Kiger with multi-sense modes.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We continue our conversation with Mr. Theo Ngobeni of Mr. Slim Fit. We're asking the question, is it time for me to continue to intensify in my local environment, or do I globalize potentially, leave my environment, grow to other provinces and potentially other countries in the rest of the world? How do I make that decision, and when is it the right time? We've already answered a few questions that's come from all of you guys and our in-studio guests in Bloemfontein around research. We're going to move on now and take a lot more. So please, on your comments section on the YouTube line and also on Facebook, throw in your questions that you might have before we let him go. And also on our WhatsApp line for all the data-free streams, please drop us your WhatsApp as well. All right, Kitu, let me come to you. You are over there in Bloemfontein right now. I'm told you've got a couple of entrepreneurs that would like to weigh in on this topic. Over to you.
Certainly do, Andile, and we're laughing because I'm here with Toby Ile and he doesn't want photos, has been taking care of him. So the cameraman is now on him for real. But Toby has been dying to ask a question. Yeah. We have 3 questions which we'll take in order and then we'll come back to you guys in studio. Let me start with Toby. Toby, please ask your question.
Just a quick question to Mr. Kumalo. I run a company called, we've started a fund called Uncommon Capital.
Yeah.
And I would love to ask you, how do you, I've seen in the past few months you've been running a fund for entrepreneurs. We've been running a program called Startup 30 that it invests in startups in South Africa. But then we were advised by one of the guys that wanted to come in from London, that wanted to invest in startups in Africa. So we had to structure it formally, and we're busy with a Category 2 license. And my question is, how do you structure a fund that can be operational locally, that is also going to work in developing countries like your Asia, where the challenges are similar to African challenges? And the second question is to Mr. Theo Ngobeni. I don't have a question per se for Theo. I just want to say to him, I love his work, and I'll possibly go and see him for a suit
Fitting.
very, very soon. And yeah. And maybe third and last
Last
question
one.
Yeah, for Mr. Kumalo is...
Last one.
Do you take coffee from entrepreneurs? I'd love to... I'd love to talk to you about our fund.
All right, thanks, Tobila, about that.
Thank you.
We've got your question on how do we put our fund so that it really does benefit. How do we localize it to benefit developing countries? And I'm sure Mr. Ngobeni will be happy to welcome you in his studio, and Andile will answer that last question for himself. Khomoto, quickly, you can come and ask your question. Please go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Okay. My question for today is that just initially when I got here, I wanted to find out from the organization if they do fund entrepreneurs, but now luckily got answered me by giving me Jeremy and Andiswa. So now here's a question.
Yes.
I'm into event space. My company is Black April Events.
Yes.
So I've got an app. I call it a citizen app. So Jeremy mentioned that if you've got an idea, you need to have data.
Yes.
Meaning that when they ask you a question, you need to have some research. So I do have. So now my question to you, Andy and Jeremy, would you guys be able to help me to produce my product and to be my business developers? But I don't have cash flow. That's the problem. But the app is going to work because it will benefit politicians, our government, actually everyone, in terms of paying their services.
Okay, thanks Khomoto for that question. Just to make sure, I'm sure Andile and Theo will be able to answer your question.
Yes.
Khomoto has an app, but he really wants to know, how does he take his app out to market, and how does he get the right funding to take out his app to market to make sure that all his stakeholders can benefit from the app that he's developed?
Yes, then the last point is on...
Okay, last point quickly.
On localization.
Yes.
What is important as well is building relationships.
Yes.
Because if you don't build relationships, you won't get money.
True.
From your clients. Okay.
And you're happy you've built this relationship today in Bloemfontein with I'm an entrepreneur.
And Mr. Slimfit.
And Mr. Slimfit, you have another customer coming up. Now we have Nomonde and her +1. Please ask your question.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nomonde. I have a bakery. I opened it a month ago. So my question is referred to FNB.
Okay.
How does FNB help SMEs utilize the instant accounting system that they have? They have that system that you use for accounting.
For instant accounting and do your bookkeeping.
But I'm struggling to use it because I don't understand it.
Okay.
Yes. So the second question is that how do you set up a sales team that will understand your vision? I want to introduce new products, but I need somebody to come and go out
To you. Okay, good question. I think Andile and Theo will also be able to answer that question for you guys. How do you set up the right sales team to help you take your product out to market, especially because she started her business a month ago, so everything that she's doing is quite new. So back to you guys in studio, Andile, to answer our questions and catch up with you a little bit later.
Thank you very much, Kitu. Wow, there's some real questions there for you and I, my brother. Let's try and get through as many as possible. Let me start the ones that are related to you, because there's a lot of things that you need to get through. And then maybe let's start with Nomonde's final question around setting up a sales team. How do you make sure you set up a sales team that is actually able to do the work when you're going to market? What's been your experience?
I think with my line of work, like I said, it's very personal. So I'm the guy who's in the forefront, you know. So I realized that when you're starting a brand that is not known, you know, you're taking a product into market. Most of the time with new brands, you know, people don't just buy products. They buy the brand, they buy the person behind the brand. You need to build trust. And by doing that, I needed to be there in the forefront and always being there to solve the client's problem, so that, you know, you develop that rapport and you develop the trust, and that's how you build a brand.
Do you think entrepreneurs tend to want to put other salespeople kind of like in front, especially those that they prefer to stay in the background? And do you think that compromises the business in the early stages?
It does. Because like I said, people buy people, you know. When I trust you, it's easier for me to do business with you. It's easier for me to refer more business to you. So I think also in the starting process, when you're starting out, it's very important to take your time and realize that businesses are different. The type of business that I've built, you know, it's different from any other businesses that I've seen out there, and it's important for me to understand, you know, the dynamics, to say my business cannot start with a, you know, sales team, you know, force, and I need to grow this, and slowly but surely I'll be able to develop that. Only now I'm getting to a point where I'm introducing my clients to my other team, you know, to the middle office, to the back office.
It's taken time.
It's taken time, because now you trust me, you know, you deal with me. But I've said to you, Andile, when you're coming in and I'm not around and I'm traveling, I still want you to come in and be able to get the same service. Only now when you come in, I introduce you to the guys, to the team, and you know the team. You know them. You don't know them personally, but you've seen the work that they do. Absolutely. You know, and through that, what I'm doing is I'm building that system to say, even if I'm not around, the business can still run. But it took me a while to get to that point. Not every business will start with a sales team, with a marketing team, and all those things.
So Nomonde, I guess the answer to Nomonde is, first, you are the number one salesman of your business. Get that right. Get over it if you have a problem with it. Okay, it's the truth. If you are not out there selling, your business is not likely to get going. It is after a while of you selling, people trusting your business because of the relationship they built with you, that you can then start building a sales team. In any event, you probably can't afford to have a sales team, potentially at the level you need them to. So don't waste your time trying to solve for that. Rather, you know, pick up your bag and go out there and sell your business yourself. On the instant accounting, no problems. Give Kitumetsi your details, and we'll make sure that the guys at FNB are in touch with you and help you. Now, Kubuntu's got this app. He's convinced that his app is going to solve the world's problems. And he's already talking about how he's going to fund this app. I think it goes back to your point earlier. Have you determined that it solves a problem?
That's true, because you know, as entrepreneurs, all of us have all these great ideas that we believe are going to solve the world problems. But like I said, systems in place, you know, don't be biased about it. And it's always important to know and understand who your target market is and take it to them. If I know that you are my target market, I need to take it to you and be able to say, is this something you'd like to use? You know, test it out with you. Say, here's an app, use it for a while, let me know what you think. Because you'll come back and say to me, I've used the app, it doesn't have 1, 2, 3, which will solve my problems. But I was not looking at it from an end user.
Yes.
You know, I was looking at it from the developer side. And most of the time when we have products and when we have ideas, that's what we do.
Absolutely.
We look at them from, you know, the developer side. Absolutely. And not from the end user side.
And of course, if you're looking for funding, particularly, which Khumutso did say he's looking for, you know, people are not going to fund it because you think it's great, okay? Like if that was the case with all of funding for every great idea we think is great. They'll fund it when they can see that there's a commercial traction. Yeah. So before you think of funding, do the research. You got to bootstrap this thing yourself so that you can prove that there's a commercial case for anybody with their own money to be able to put that money through to you. Let's move on to Tobile, who wants coffee. Easy, Tobile, absolutely. We'll have coffee the next time I'm in Bloemfontein. He wants to raise a fund. Now, you got a bit of banking background. You kind of know a little bit about funds, and it looks like he already knows kind of the compliance issues. But if somebody's going to give you money, they must really believe that they are going to get returns. You've had to raise some money just before you made your move into Kramerville. What would you say is probably the single most important thing he needs to think about in trying to attract people and giving him money to fund his business?
I think one of the biggest challenges that we don't see as entrepreneurs is when somebody comes and offers you money, there's something that they're seeing that you're not seeing. And I think for me, it really helped to have mentors, you know, that I could pick up a phone and say, listen, this is what I'm trying to do in raising money, and this is the offer I'm getting. You know, what do you think about it? And, you know, my mentor was able to say to me, look at 1, 2, and 3. You know, have you considered this? Have you considered that? And it's something that I didn't consider, which I was going to shoot myself on the foot, because at the moment I was very excited, you know, to get this.
The money was there.
The money was there. But when I sat and I thought about it, and I was like, actually, this is going to limit me as a creative one. I'm going to have to get okays from, you know, the funders and all these things. And at the end of the day, for me, it did not make sense, because the business I built was to give me freedom, you know, and to do what I love. And as a creative, I want to be creative, and I don't want to be restricted.
You want to be free.
I want to be free.
And this was going to take away your freedom.
It was going to take away the freedom. But at the same time, freedom meant that I have to walk away from this, and I have to now struggle and make sure that I do this thing on my own. Right. It took longer than I would have had I went the other way. But the one thing I'm happy and comfortable with now is I still own the business 100%. I have carte blanche and I have flexibility in terms of what I want to do. I don't have to okay.
So you must understand the terms of your funding.
That's true.
Because it may not be what you're looking for.
Yeah, because he who pays the bills, you know, makes the decisions.
He who pays the bills makes the decisions. How's that? Well, I would like to add, for Tobile's sake, especially if he's trying to raise international money, if you're going to raise institutional money, you know, in other words, money from institutions from around the world, I think you already know of the regulatory requirements. You already talk about getting a Cat 2 license, you know, so you know that, you know, those are the things that you need to do. But to the point that Theo is raising for you, you need to really think about if this is what you want to do. So it's very different when you're trying to raise money from a few individuals who are going to back you because we are your mates and we support you, as opposed to going to global funders and trying to put money. It's a very long process. It's got a lot of regulation, and a lot of it has got to do with the team and whether or not you are trusted to manage other people's monies, because most of those monies come from pension funds, and you can only imagine the responsibility that pension funds have to pensioners when they need to get their pensions when they eventually retire. So they don't just give that money to anybody. You have to fulfill a lot of requirements. So think deeply about that and think really, really hard. All right, so let me at this point pause and check in with Kitumetse out in Bloemfontein and make sure that there are no other outstanding matters on the floor as we wrap our link to Mangawong.
Thanks, Andile, and thank you so much for answering all those questions for us. Our entrepreneurs are really happy and satisfied with the information that we gained here today. We all learned, and Khomoto even said she's glad that she's going to go home and she's able to implement all the lessons that she's learned today in her business. So we're glad, and thank you to all our guests. But here in Maung, we're now going to network a little bit with each other. We're going to have a brunch with each other and just be that we all took today. So with that said, back to you, Andile, and we'll be driving back to Joburg soon with our Renault. So thank you to our friends from Renault for making sure we get home right today. With that said, have a good Saturday, everybody, and back to you guys in studio.
Thank you so much, Kitu. Well, there you go. That's the team out in Bloemfontein. Yes, indeed. Thanks again to Renault for making sure the team gets there safe. Let me pick up on some of your comments. Desiree Ranoko, is it solving a problem? She says that's the big question. She even says power. So that point really landed for her. Bev is thanking you, Mr. Ngobeni. He says, what a journey. Quite an insightful interview. Mr. Slimfit, I'm an entrepreneur, really schooling me right now. So thanks to you, sir. And Faith Kaba has a question. Please ask Theo, when you are a supplier of a product, is there a formula that one can use to formulate a price, to sell the product and make profit and still remain competitive. There's now Faith in Henley on the clip. It's all about pricing. Now, you, my good sir, as your customer, I can proudly tell you that your pricing is not necessarily accessible, shall I say. How do you get pricing right? That's really what Faith is asking.
It's positioning.
Positioning.
Positioning, yeah. Number one, I think when I started my brand, I was very, very clear that I'm building a luxury brand. And you know, even though I started selling from the boot of my City Golf and then from there on built my studio at my home in my garage, I've always said this is a luxury brand that I'm building. And I focused on, so I didn't focus on going and renting a space and, you know, having fancy offices, and I focused on the product. I wanted us to develop a product that is of good quality, a product that our clients will be able to enjoy, and, you know, a product that is, you know, that I'm proud of, you know, and that is long lasting. So even the service, I spend time developing the product and the service and making sure that our product and our service is great before I can offer people, you know, like a luxury experience.
Right.
And then once I had that, for me, that's when I'd said, okay, we have the product, we have the service. Now we need the experience. So that's only when we're moving into our space in Kramerville. I mean, this is, in January, I'll be 7 years in the business. And for me, like I said, it takes a bit of time. But you need to know from the word go, what is your objective? Like I said, when I started, I said I'm building a luxury brand. I positioned as such. You know, it didn't matter where I was selling it from, but the product. I believed in the product.
So it didn't matter even the cost price. Like, you didn't go cost plus. You said, if this is a luxury brand, this is the price point. How much I buy it for is nobody else's business.
No. For me, it's also because the kind of clients that my target audience. You know, one of the things they'll say to me is, okay, when I'm wearing, you know, a Mr. Slim Fit golf T-shirt, I don't want to walk into a space and everybody's wearing it. You know, one of my clients, he came through and we showed him our new range. He bought a few and he said, I love them, my friends love them, I just hope this is not Zonke Bonke. And I guaranteed him that probably in his circle, he's probably the only one who has them, you know. So those are some of the things that allows me to be able to price where I price. Because it's exclusivity, but at the same time, it's not just because it's exclusive, I'm pricing it way out. Also the quality. I'm very obsessed with quality. You know, like I said, before we introduced our golf T-shirt, I tested them out for just over 6 months or so, washing them, wearing them, and getting the right suppliers and getting the right fabric and making sure that, you know, they fit well even after, you know, a lot of washes. So making sure that the product is of good quality is very important. Once you have a good quality product, at the same time positioning, then you can be able to price it.
Ladies and gents, I can't help you further than that. Thanks once again to you, Mr. Slim Fit himself in studio, helping us appreciate how to build a business that is very local but can still do extremely, extremely well. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that does bring us to the end of our broadcast today. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. You know, we can all have great ideas. We can all have even great products. At the end of the day, we got to sell them. We got to sell them at a margin so that we can fund our businesses and grow. And for everybody that spent the time joining us this morning, this is indicative of the kind of effort you are putting in to making sure that you give yourself the skills that you need to grow. So thank you. This is not time wasted. This is time invested. Join us again on our final one happening 11th of December 2021. This is the last one of the year. We'll be taking stock of 2021 and also planning for 2022. From me, Andile Kumalo, have a wonderful weekend. Goodbye.
We have two business owners, Karabo and Temba, who've come on the show today to find out from our panel of business bossers whose bank is keeping things real.
Temba, what does your bank cost your business?
You see, I pay R5 for the account and about R500 for the payment device.
And you, Karabo? Well, with FNB, their app turns my phone into a payment device, so our customers pay us on the spot. I also get Mahala Charge, unlimited card swipes, and a free business savings account that allows me to set aside money from my main account for future projects. Oh, and we can also withdraw money for petty cash at no extra cost from a Checkers and other retailers.
And the monthly account fee?
0 monthly account fee. That's why it's called First Business Zero.
Well, it looks like we've got a winner, ladies and gentlemen. It's obvious which bank keeps the costs low while running your business or even just starting up. One simple change makes a big difference. Switch to FNB, Bank of the Changeables.
I Am an Entrepreneur Summit is brought to you in association with FNB and our partners.